Welcome to the Missing Truth. We are speaking about T. Stauch today, the evil step monster. Who is T? More like, what is T? There are so many inconsistencies of what T has said, what T has told the public, and what she's told law enforcement. I don't even know where to begin with all of her lies. So let's start with many years ago when the recklessness had began. It's been said by an old classmate of hers that she had a rocky life. Her mother really wasn't in the picture, and she was raised mostly by her grandmother and grandfather until both of their passing. Letecia was an accomplished student from what I was told. She was frequently named the honor roll and excelled in extracurricular activities. Some classmates have stated she was quiet and kept to herself, and one has even told me that she was very arrogant and cocky, and it was her way or no way. The quiet and keeping to herself would soon change. When she was first picked up by police, it was soon after she graduated high school in 2001. Letecia was arrested for stealing a driver's ed car from North Carolina. The local paper reported at the time that she was found guilty of a felony larceny, which was reduced to a misdemeanor of an unauthorized use of a vehicle. Stories have said it was a driver's ed car. For that offense, Letecia was sentenced to 45 days in jail, but given credit for time served. She was also put on a probation for 18 months in order to pay just over $1,000 for her fine. That same year, she was also charged with communicating threats and simple assault, but those counts seemed to be dropped as part of her deal with the prosecutors in the felony larceny case. Come to find out, she had pulled a fire alarm while the children were in school. There was also a traffic offense that Letecia was picked up on in Virginia a few years later, but she was able to get off on that after paying a fine for her minor offenses. Her next arrest was in 2010, by which time she was going by the name Letecia Hunt. The newly remarried teacher had married a man named Chance Hunt, and they had recently had a baby. That baby would be Harley, T's daughter, who was living with T when Gannon was murdered. T had graduated from Liberty University by then and was cited for domestic violence and domestic abuse in Horry County, South Carolina, the same court where she was picked up for the murder of Gannon. Harley's father, Chance, had passed away a few years later after he and T were divorced, as he was in Ohio away on a job. He was found in a hotel room by a coworker, and from what I have read, T was not involved in his death. Well, physically, that is. So we have T in and out of jail, court, a baby, a divorce, then the loss of a child's father. Troubles with Letecia arose when her and Al lived in Alaska. Trouble seemed to follow her. Who am I kidding? She was the trouble, no matter where she went. There was an in-depth investigation in June of 2019 in regards to some sexual content with T and another gentleman. I'm not going to go into details and dates, but the conclusion of the investigation was more lies, from T, of course. But I will say that the allegations were found to be not true, and T was asked to leave Alaska, and the family came back to the stateside. If T lost sponsorship, she would not have access to any military sponsorships if she did not leave. Isn't this like the third time I have heard such a story like this with sexual advances? I think so. South Carolina, Alaska, Colorado. It's mind-blowing how such a person can act and place blame on others and then make up such heinous lies. Letecia shows all signs of narcissist, even by listening to the horrible video that night before Gannon was murdered. Listen how she speaks to him with the power she feels she has over him. I will warn everyone that the audio might be disturbing to some.
Well, devastating. Initially, Scott, I can't lie when the TMZ information...
Gannon, I promise it's the last time I'm going to ask you. I'm just freaked out, okay? Are you sure you didn't do it on purpose?
He did it.
Okay, we promise. He promised.
On purpose.
Pinky promise. Okay, alright, so, listen. We're gonna have to sell stuff to fix it, okay? So, we figure out what we gotta sell. We can sell the sofa. We can sell whatever. Because we gotta get it fixed, so lady. Don't be mad at us and kick us out of the house. Okay? You got it?
I did cut it off before Gannon had stated that he was bleeding. How she spoke to him in saying that they had to sell the sofa or they would have to sell whatever they had to do to fix the carpet. More lies she was telling Gannon. They didn't have to sell anything. Let's jump to something that's been bothering me since it aired, because honestly, all the alleged accusations where she tries to place blame on others for her actions really disgust me. During T's interview with Spencer Wilson, it keeps sticking out to me with how she has acted and what she has said. T insisted her back be to the camera while interviewing. For someone such as T, with her high and mighty attitude, with how she has carried herself in what we have seen throughout these horrific events, did she think that not showing her face to the camera, that it would be impossible for law enforcement or others not to read her body language? Did she not face forward in fear someone would recognize her? You decide. Unfortunately for her, even with her back towards the camera, many were able to read through her lies and lack of empathy when she was speaking about Gannon. That's when she actually spoke about him. I should say it was more like watching her speak about herself and not Gannon, as he was missing and she knew exactly where he was. It was always my and all about her. I was beginning to wonder if the interview was about her or Gannon. She sees herself as a victim. She perceives herself as the victim and acted like she was forced into caring for Gannon and his little sister. I think she had forgotten when she met Al that he had children and he was a package deal, just as she was with Harley. She also sees herself as the victim to the police and social media. The very bad relationship with Gannon and the perception as a victim is a dangerous combination for any child. She did not indicate care for what Gannon was currently experiencing while he was supposedly missing. In this interview, she was like no other parents of a missing child. When it's me and my out of her mouth, in her statement, she moved along tentatively about her daughter and shopping for clothes while being interviewed about Gannon's disappearance. She specifically mentioned underwear, which is unnecessary when the interview should have been all about Gannon. Why did she mention underwear? It really doesn't make any sense. Or does it? Did Gannon see or find something he wasn't supposed to? And maybe she snapped on him? Well, we know she snapped on him. How she carried herself is very concerning, to say the least. She wanted a public apology from people on the internet, and especially her husband, during her stepson's disappearance interview. Who in the hell says this knowing that they just killed an innocent 11-year-old without even flinching? I can tell you who. A narcissist. Then to call your daughter over and put her on the spot and drill your words into her head? T was quick to hop onto Facebook with not only her profile, she had many other fake profiles. She even used Harley's Facebook to search certain things and spy in certain groups. Was she checking on others in Facebook groups to see what everyone was talking about? I'm guessing so. Did she feel people were getting close? I'm sure she did. In some posts and comments I've shared how she acted to not only the people she knew, to strangers trying to find her stepson. Landon and Al did not act like this during this time. And a not guilty parent of a child that was missing or murdered does not act as this Of course, unless you are guilty of that crime. I can honestly say that I think she believes all of her lies. As you can see in the comments above, those are her Facebook posts to people trying to help. T starts with, "Give me a break," then proceeds to say the girl cared nothing about Gannon, and the only reason Al is supporting her until the truth comes out. What exactly she have betted in her head with that statement? She comes right out of the gate talking trash about Landon. Interesting that she says "this girl" a few times in the beginning. It seems too mild of a description for someone. Who's she referring to, Landon? According to T, she has so many faults and who she clearly does not like at all. I think by saying "this girl," T actually deep down inside means herself. Is she telling us what we have been wreaking havoc on? Her mind? She is fooling us. She is the one who cared nothing about Gannon, and she is worried Al won't support her anymore when the truth comes out. That's been proven. Al is getting a divorce. She goes on her childish rants. This girl is also a piece of crap. Getting money off her child when she don't have crap and ain't ever been shit. Wasn't T the one telling Gannon they would have to sell the couch or something so they could keep living in their home? So in a way, she was the one, quote, getting money off from her child, quote. You take a look in the court documents. A little suspicious. I think T had a life insurance policy on these children. Who thought they were getting money from who? However, the fact that she wrote "he" instead of "the" may be telling. Maybe it's a mistake. Did Gannon cry? We all know he did. We heard the audio. Many have viewed the video. The fact that she says this girl cared nothing about Gannon is also telling. If T thought Gannon was still alive, she would have said "cares," present tense instead of past. How did no one see any of these actions from her prior to Gannon's murder? She has a weird way of expressing herself. She actually has some serious mental and emotional problems. It's evident. She is so tainted in her view of our reality that she keeps leaking not only the truth, but her sick state of mind and clues to what had taken place that evening. Is Letecia's state of mind so warped she expects law enforcement to believe the never-ending lies? In my opinion, she has a lot of issues. She's a money-hungry, greedy, child abuser, and let's not forget, alleged murderer with narcissist tendencies. She has not only taken the life of an innocent child and dumped his body 1,400 miles away from his home, she has ruined so many others' lives by her actions of greed. Remember, there is always some sort of truth that remains in a lie.